Craig Doyle is a TV presenter and broadcaster who himself regularly crosses the Irish Sea between Liverpool and Dublin, and he's advocating for the benefits of ferry travel. And Craig is with us here just now. How are you today?
I'm very, very good. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm in good form. Not only that, so sophisticated am I now in my ferry travel that I will now choose my ferry port for the particular job that's on that day.
Oh.
Yeah, when I started, I would just get me across the Irish Sea. But now, if it's something around the Liverpool way, I'll get that one. More often than not, Holyhead into Manchester if I'm doing a game at Sale or going up to Newcastle. And then any West Country, there's loads of rugby clubs in the West Country, I'll pop over from Rosslare to Fishguard. So it's good. Yeah. I'm well versed.
Absolutely. It all sounds very exciting. And yet, apparently, 19% of Brits are yet to travel by ferry, which is quite weird when you consider that we live on an island. So why do you think that is?
It's really strange, isn't it? Because when you look at other island nations, I was over in Greece a couple of weeks ago, and they're popping from Athens to Paros to Mykonos to, wherever it might be, willy-nilly. They don't even think about it. 3 hours on a ferry, 4 hours on a ferry. It's just normal. And I think we need to think about the same. We need to think the same way. It's so much easier when it comes to the stress, particularly if you have a family with you.
Yeah.
Something about closing your whole door, your car is packed with everything you need in it, maybe even the dogs as well, and you just drive to your destination. And the next time you open the boot is to unpack it there on holiday, or even just go to see relatives, whatever it is. That's where we started, actually, was half my rellies live in England. Some of them lived in Newcastle, and some of them all lived down in kind of Brighton way. So when I was a kid, we were constantly on the ferry over and back because it was just the easiest thing to do. You could keep an eye on everyone. The airport during the summer is busy, it's busy and it's expensive.
Yeah.
The airport's expensive. You might get a cheap flight, but the process is expensive. Fast track, which you need now if you don't want to be standing there for hours, is everything's expensive if there's a group of you. So what I like about the ferry is you pay for it, you know your costs, you know where you are. There's very few surprises.
I guess on the other hand, although flying could be more expensive, a lot of people might find that easier. And the thing with ferries, I suppose, they have to be on the coast or in a river mouth where you get them, whereas flying you could get closer to where you actually want to go.
Yeah, look, I'm not suggesting only ever get the ferry when you want to go to Ireland, or we're in your Ireland and you want to go to England, only get the ferry, but there are times when it does make more sense. And half of Ireland is very close to a ferry, as is half of England, and even that when you think about it, Birmingham to Holyhead's only about a 2.5 hour drive. It's not that far. I've done it plenty of times. Newcastle across to Cairnryan's, I think about 2.5, 3 hours. And then when you got so much of the West Country, Bath into Fishguard or Pembrokeshire, what's that? 2 hours, 2.5. So, you have to give yourself a bit more time, but you are getting rid of a lot of hassle. If it's a day trip, it doesn't always make sense. I'll do it on a day trip sometimes just because I like the idea of finishing a match in Sale Sharks at 10 o'clock and jumping in my car and driving home rather than waiting until the next morning and staying in a hotel and all that hassle. I was in Birmingham Airport last weekend. I was an hour and a half in the fast track queue. It was chaos.
Wow.
I was so stressed for 45-minute flight. So there are advantages for flying, but I think there are times when sailing will just make your life a little easier and a little bit more relaxed. It's also but it's pleasant as well. This is the other thing I noticed when I was in Greece. People are sitting on the ferries, they're enjoying the sunshine, they're walking around, they're doing stuff. The ferries these days, they've lots of things on there to distract you from the fact that you've got a 3-hour journey. There's cinemas and there's spas and there's duty free. But on a nice day, and I've done it, trust me, you sit out there and just watch the horizon, enjoy the sun. If it's a calm sea, it's a beautiful experience,
That's true, because when you're on a long flight, at most, you're going to have a screen in front of you to watch stuff.
Yeah.
And you're not even going to get that on EasyJet. But in a ferry, you've got shops and, as you say, cinema, and there's plenty of stuff to distract yourself.
And air. Apparently,
Yes.
Apparently, the ground crew, when a long haul flight arrives, right? This is disgusting. But when a long haul flight arrives, apparently, when the air crew open the door of the capsule, the smell that emerges is just disgusting because you have 300 people kind of burping and breaking wind for
Yeah.
8, 9 hours. And, you're in that environment. So, if a ferry's, I think a ferry is for mind and body is probably a better option. I know you can't do that all the time. Although I have got a ship across the Atlantic to New York. I have done that.
Oh,
I
wow.
have done, it took 5 days, but I've done it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Well, would there be any routes that you'd recommend to maybe first-time ferry travellers? Because I'd imagine, maybe going all the way to New York on your first ferry might be a bit much.
Yeah, I mean, look, where you're in Lancashire, right? You're in Blackpool, so I mean, you're in a great position there
Oh,
because
yeah.
you can get to Liverpool, you can get to Manchester. The Liverpool to Belfast one, I love because it's 8 hours overnight, really relaxing. It's just it's so chilled out. The worst thing they did, they'll say it's the best thing they did on Stena, but they brought in really good Wi-Fi, so you can stay in touch. I loved when it didn't work because no one you go, I'm on the ferry. I'll speak to you in 3 hours, 4 hours. That's a really nice journey, and the ferry's a really nice ferry on that route. Because obviously it's an overnighter. First timer, Karen Ryan over to Belfast. It's about an hour and a half, and I think it's like a day spa on that. It's really luxurious. But also in the lounge, it's one of the ferries where the lounge, as far as I remember, has like a bay window looking to the front of the ship. And you can just sit there watching kind of the land arrive towards you. It's a really nice journey. So that's a really good one to start with. But like when I was a kid, we were popping over to Holyhead for the day. We'd pop over to go shopping, from Dublin Port. So like it's 3.5 hours. It's easy, an easy hop.
And Cairn Ryan to Belfast is quite a common day trip, isn't it? Because you can go to the Titanic Museum and you can do it all in a day.
Yeah, easily. And not only that, like you can, and this is the beauty of it, and people forget, it's not just about getting to one place. If you're in your own car, you're in Belfast, then you're an hour 40 drive down to Dublin.
Yeah.
And when you're in Dublin, you're 2 hour 40 drive across the country to Galway. And then you can make your way up to kind of into Sligo, into Mayo, across into Derry, across if you want, Northern Ireland, and back to the ferry again. You can do what you want. So you get a freedom. You get a freedom with it. You're not getting restrictions from a car hire company. You're not having to worry about, getting trains or any of that stuff. You can do your own thing. So there's a freedom that comes with the ferry and your own car,
The thing with planes as well is the amount of delays and stuff. There's so much that can go wrong. Whereas I could probably count on one or two hands how many ferries I've been on. But personally, I don't think I've really experienced many delays. Maybe there's certain political issues in certain ports, but most of the time it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, traveling over, from Dover into Calais can be tricky, can't it? That's why you can come over to Ireland and do Rosslare over to Cherbourg if you're going to France. That's a nice little route. I mean, look, there are times a year when the weather isn't great and you do have to be wary. There's no doubt about that. But during holiday periods, during the summer and stuff, it's pretty carefree. I've never had a ferry cancelled in my adult life. I just can't recall it. And they're pretty much to schedule. They have to be. So flights, I mean, look, you're not comparing apples with apples here, are you? They are different. They're both journeys to get you somewhere, but they are different. And I think when you're going by ferry, you have to allow for the fact that it is going to take a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And a 10-minute delay in a ferry is nothing. A 10-minute delay on a flight gets people very upset. But you change your mindset a little bit on a ferry. You know what I mean? You chill out a little bit. You're not running around the place. I go through an airport terminal like a man possessed. How dare anyone stand on a travelator when I'm in an airport? But I'm a completely different human on a ferry. I just wind it right back. I'm far more chilled out.
Absolutely. And I suppose the thing is, as we touched on all these amenities on the ferry, your holiday really starts once you're on the boat, doesn't it? Whereas other forms of transport, it still feels like you're traveling.
Yeah, there's because you know, if you're on one of those ferry routes, you'll see there's cafes, right? There's restaurants, there's a cinema, there's stuff to actually do, but also it's a safe environment for kids as well. So you can kind of let the kids run around a bit. They get a bit of freedom there, which you just don't get on a plane. So people do start chilling out. I definitely do. You see a different atmosphere. You're sitting around a big table with your family having dinner. You don't get that on a flight. You know what I mean? You're terrified you're not all going to be sitting together. It's such a different travel experience. It really, really is.
Well, for you, what's the next ferry you're going to be going on? Is it, as you mentioned, the Manchester direction, or is it the